Hello, everybody. Come on in. It is 7 p.m. Wednesday, August 6th. Let's go ahead and start sharing the video. Let us know where you're listening from, where you're viewing from. And it's 7 p.m. on the dot. We like to start on time because your time is valuable and so is ours. So happy Wednesday evening. I'm Lacy Robertson, the hardest working woman in mortgage and real estate nationwide. And I am here with the Dr. Lysa Liggins, who is helping us grow up. Okay, helping us get our adulting 101, helping us in career coaching, figuring out what we're going to do, especially if you've had, unfortunate circumstances, losing your job, or you just want to just start something new. It don't have to be after a tragic event. Like losing your job, you may just say, you know what, it's time for a change. I want to start doing this. And so she's going to help us navigate that. So let's go ahead before we get started. Please like, share the video. Sharing is caring and it adds value. People don't wear a t-shirt and a hat that says I'm in trouble, I lost my job, I'm having financial issues. So a lot of times you don't even know, but the mere fact of you sharing something of value, they can stumble across it and it can change their life and give them hope. So we appreciate you doing that in advance because you never know who you are helping in the process. So this week, our topic, we're talking about protecting your home, right? Protecting your home and your property while navigating your career change. Now, I went first last week, and look, I don't want to have a takeover spirit. So I am going to let the Dr. Lysa start us off regarding careers.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much. I mean, I'm on your show, so I respect it. No, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. And these topics are so important because of the world that we live in today. And I think a lot of times navigating things has been something that people don't really think about until it happens. And so I love the idea of protecting something. And so I really think that, and just as good landlord-tenant relationship creates stability with your property, maintaining positive relationship with managers and colleagues and industry contacts keeps your career stable. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how we can really help to we can really help to protect our careers when it comes to things like being laid off, or maybe not even having a layoff, but transitioning from one space to another. Because I know I've been really focused on being laid off and when people are laid off, because last week we talked about how there's over 700,000 people right now in the US alone who have been laid off. But I want to talk a little bit about, maybe making a pivot, a career pivot. And so I think just as good as, like I said, having a good landlord relationship, tenant relationship creates stability, making sure that we are also keeping positive relationships with our managers and our colleagues. So a good professional reputation it opens up doors for better opportunities, promotions, and strong references. I'll never forget, I was on a job once and I didn't really mesh well with the manager. And so when I left that job, thank goodness I was able to get another job in the organization. But then when I left that particular job, I needed a reference from my former manager because it was in the same organization. But because we didn't have the best ending, it really kind of made it hard for me. So you just want to keep having those strong relationships so that when you need that reference, now we can't always get along with our boss, and we know this, right? But as much as we can, we want to keep those strong references. Also, consistent communication and reliability, which can help keep us steady. So we want to have a consistent communication, and that helps us protect as well. And then also, I know this is like a cuss word with some people, but networking. Networking. Whenever I talk to people about networking, they're like, "Oh, I hate networking. It feels so fake. It feels so phony." But there's different ways to network, and I'm actually going to be writing a little article about how to network without feeling phony. You know, good ways to do networking as an introvert. Because me, I'm very much an extrovert, and I can talk to anybody about anything and strike up a conversation. But everyone's not that way, and there are some people who are very introverted who feel like networking is just going to drain the entire life out of them. So making sure that you network, and then not just networking, there's ways to network, which we can talk about another time, but building trust within your network. It allows you to stay within the loop of internal job postings or industry shifts even before they become public. That's a really great way to protect your job, to protect your career, even before it comes public. So if you are friends with, your manager, or you're a manager yourself, and you kind of have colleagues that are kind of in the know about certain things, making sure that those individuals, you build that trust with them. And again, I'll pull it to, I'm connecting it with you, Lacy, like renewing a lease. You want to have regular check-ins with mentors or sponsors to help you renew your professional relevance, right? So just like your lease is renewed every year, maybe once a year when you do your evaluation, once a year, just when maybe you get that merit raise or something like that, you want to do those regular check-ins with your mentors or your sponsors to help you renew your professional relevance. How well am I doing? What should I continue doing? What should I stop doing? Those are the things that we have during our evaluation time anyway, but you want to make sure that you do that. And it kind of wraps itself into performing a regular career maintenance. So homeowners do maintenance as well. So we have to do career maintenance. So career professionals should regularly update your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your skills to prevent career decay. And career decay is a thing. I want to pause right here for a second, because a lot of times when people come to me to get the career coaching that they need, they're like, I haven't updated my resume over 10 years. And I get why some people haven't, because you haven't had to. No, it's not a bad thing, right? But what I often tell people is, you don't want to wait till something breaks to fix it, right? But it's sometimes we don't think of it because we don't need it. So the whole 20 years that I was working in healthcare, I would just update my resume every now and then because someone told me to do it. Had that person not told me to do it, I would not have known to do that. So I would just often recommend that we often update our resume, even if you really don't have a coach to do it like myself. But there's a lot of times where you can just go onto your resume and make sure that what you're doing right now, your resume reads what you're doing right now. Because sometimes I'll go into people's resumes and it'll be like their job from the last 5 years, and they don't have what they're doing presently on there. So when I say update it, just update it to what you're doing right now, and that's updating it. Now, once you need it, it's already updated, and you can share it with someone like myself to say, hey, okay, let's give it some zhuzh though, And so you want to just make sure that you don't wait until a layoff to fix your resume. And then I want to also talk a little bit about investing in learning like you would invest in anything else. So use LinkedIn as something that is free information. Now, LinkedIn does have subscription-based classes as well, but there are so many other courses on LinkedIn that you can take that if you want to learn, I don't know, project management. Now, some of them are from a very, very high level, but it'll kind of get your juices flowing to maybe say, you know what, I think I want to take a full class on project management, and that's okay. And so making sure that you invest in yourself, because that's really what we're doing. We're protecting ourselves by investing in ourselves. And that way, once we've had that protection and it's ongoing, it's just providing some type of a career maintenance for us. And you want to make sure that just like anything else, you keep a log of these things. It seems like it's like, why would I need to do that? But you would be surprised at how many people do things like I'll coach people and I'll say, so what is that you do on your job? And they're like, I don't really know how to explain what I do. But it's really important because think about it. If you ever are going to move forward, you're going to go on that interview. And you want to be able to talk to that interviewer about what it is that you do. So if you keep those maintenance logs and things that you do and keeping your resume updated, it allows you to articulate on your resume, this is what I do. And it's kind of like a forgotten thing, but it really is important because when you get to that interview, you don't know how many times I've seen people with that deer in headlights look like, I know what I do, but I can't really talk about it because we as people don't really talk about ourselves that much. So it kind of turns into, I know how to do what I do, but I don't know how to talk about what it is that I do. So we want to just make sure that we do that. And then last two things I want to talk about is keeping up with your market value. And when I say your market value, I mean keeping up with making sure that you are working in a role that, number one, most responsible organizations will do this. And I will say the last organization I worked for, they would pull me up. They would do a yearly market value of what my role was across the board. And if it was not in alignment with other organizations that had I was a senior manager, and if it was not in alignment with what they were offering me, they matched me to that. So that organization did it, but maybe your organization doesn't do it. And I would just make sure and recommend to all of you to, if your organization doesn't already do it, you do it. Do the research, find out what are different individuals in my role making in 2025, and make sure that what you are making is comparable to what others in your same role are making. And when it comes time for your evaluation, I know people get so afraid to talk about money. They're like, I don't want to rock the boat. No, I'm happy to have a job. But it is your right to do so. There's a way to articulate it. You don't want to walk in there saying, you're not paying me enough, of course, right? But there is a way to articulate it, to say, you know what, the market value actually says this for my role. And I was wondering if I can negotiate a salary with you all that would be comparable to that would still stay within the budget of what the company has planned for. Very simple. It doesn't sound confrontational. And at the end of the day, all they can say is no, right? And if they say no, it's okay. There's other jobs out there that may pay you more, but they may say yes. And they may say, you know, we probably can't do 7%. Let me meet you at 5. Okay, can we go 5.5? No, we won't do that. But you can negotiate it like that, right? But you can do just like that, because just like people undervalue a car is depreciated once you drive it off the lot. A home may depreciate after a certain amount of years. You as an employee can be undervalued as well. And your career value may need some reevaluation based on some new credentials or some new shifting industry work or something that's going on within the industry that you find out about. So make sure that you advocate for yourself. And so making sure that you are aware of the different things. And lastly, having a backup plan, right? So we all love to think that these jobs that we work in, you know, it's kind of different, Lacy, how, you know, 20 years ago, our parents worked for jobs for 40 years.
40.
They were,
yes.
And at the end of that 40 years, they got their retirement, their little pin, you know, maybe a jacket or something, and they were retired. But in this day and time, we don't have that luxury. We don't necessarily live in a space like that. And so you want to make sure that you have some type of backup plan that includes multiple streams of income or a side hustle, right? Making sure that you know, if you have some freelance gigs that you can do, or a certification that you can take care of, or some part-time work that you can plug into. I often say, I want 7 streams of income at all times. And that's not necessarily a backup plan. It's just something to make sure that you can monetize the things that you do. There's different ways to monetize. Monetization is huge. And if you just look it up and say, like, what can I monetize? You would be surprised at the different things. But this can be considered a backup plan. Don't wait till your car conks out. Don't wait till your roof caves in to do any of these things. Making sure that you have something that you can cultivate yourself, and make sure that you can do that on a regular basis put it in your phone. I am notorious for putting something in my phone and making sure I have an alarm on it. The smallest little thing, take the trash out tomorrow. It's in my phone. So for your career, to protect your career, put those things in your phone that say, hey, don't forget to do some type of appraisal on my career. It's important, it's necessary, and you want to just protect yourself, your family, and making sure that you have that backup plan. And all of these things are essential to make sure that you protect yourself. So thank you.
That is awesome. And I actually have a question. I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody else has it, but I know what I told my daughter. And so I'm just going to ask the professional. When should you ask for a letter of recommendation from your boss? Is it like maybe 6 months, 9 months? Like, when should you have it? And do they really like expire? So let's just say you have a letter of recommendation. Maybe you got it at your year annual review, but you
Hmm.
stay in that role for like 5 years or whatever, and then you go to another department or another company. Is that letter of recommendation still good? I'm just curious.
You know what? Short answer, yes. I will say this. Whenever I have asked for a letter of recommendation, or I've told people to ask for letters of recommendation,
Mhm.
always ask the person, can this be redated? And ask them,
Mm.
can they write it so that it's kind of like it's timeless, you know? In your letter
Got
of recommendation from your boss, they're going to always say what you did. They're going to highlight all of the different skills that you had during the time that they worked with you. However,
mm.
you may have worked with them for 5 more years before you even look for another job. But if they send you a PDF copy of that, of course we can't change that. But always ask your boss or whoever, um, yes, can I redate this, or so that when that time does come, it'll still be relevant. It's just dated new, and they may even have to update it if it's 5 years from now, because you may have done other things. But I think it's always appropriate,
Mhm.
especially if you have a great relationship with your boss. Any boss that doesn't want to do a letter of recommendation, I would side eye. There are some out there though, but
Mhm.
any manager, any good leader would want to and would be honored to do a great letter of recommendation for an employee to let them move forward at that time. And so I think that making sure that it's something I've used. Let me say this: I've used a letter of recommendation that someone wrote me about 5 or 6 years ago. And I did the same thing. I said, "Is it okay if I change the date on this?" So they sent me a Word version, and it had
Mm.
their signature on there. And anytime I needed that particular letter of recommendation, I just changed the date on there with their permission, and I PDF'd it with the right date, and I sent it on. So just make
Mm.
sure it's editable, and it's fine.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lisa, for
Yeah,
helping
absolutely.
us with, you know, uh, telling us about, letter of recommendation and how we can stay relevant in the workforce. And so just to touch, because we're all things trying to help you protect not just your property or your living quarters, because I realize everybody's not a homeowner. Some people are renting. And then obviously protecting or making sure you feel secure in your finances, your job, your career, or even starting something new. I'm sure she can help you because a lot of skills are transferable. So I'm sure
Yeah.
you reach out to Dr. Lisa, she can help you say, hey, like she was in the healthcare field, if you go to another organization, maybe a lot of the skills in the healthcare field was transferable, and so she'll help you get with that. So let me give you about 10 things or topics you should consider when you're thinking about protecting your living space, right? So, whether you are renting or whether you're a homeowner, the first thing I want you to do is act quickly. Like, help is not automatic. Okay, it is not automatic. You got to be proactive. You got to lay off. You got to lay off notice. You are not sitting on that notice. Nobody knows what's going on. You need to act quickly. Don't wait. As soon as you receive the notice, let your landlord know. Let your mortgage company know. They do not read minds. Okay. Being proactive not only shows that you are responsible, but you have more options available when you act quickly. I don't know how many clients in the past that has reached out to me, and I'm like, oh, when did you get laid off? And they were like, oh, I got laid off like 6 months ago. And they were receiving their unemployment. Now unemployment is expired. Now they want help with their mortgage. I'm like, you could have got help like day one. Like we could have worked on this day one. So act quickly. Two, I want you to review your lease, and I want you to review your mortgage documents, okay? Your mortgage statement. The reason why you're reviewing your lease, you're looking for clauses that says, what happens if you're late? Do you have a 10%, penalty for paying late? Or is there a clause that will let you have a forbearance, automatic forbearance, if you provide proof that you were laid off? Do you get one or two late fees waived? That might be in your lease. They may waive if you've never been late before and now you've lost your job. You want to look for clauses in your lease that say, oh, you get two late fees waived, maybe because you lost your job and you are not notorious for paying your rent late. You always paid it on time. So to review your lease and mortgage statement, because you're looking for those type of items, right? Number three, I want you to gather all your financial information. I know that is the last thing you want to do when you've been laid off because you was making six figures. Now you down to maybe $450 a week on unemployment. I know it is stressful. Nobody wants to do it. But you have to, because that is going to help your landlord and your mortgage company. It's going to help paint a picture for them. At the end of the day, yes, there are corporations, but there are people on the other side that are making decisions based on what you present to them. So you don't want to act like everything's okay. You may have a nice little savings in the bank, but you and I both know if you're not replenishing that savings and you don't have a job, it's going to slowly dwindle away. And you don't want to wait till it's all gone. You're in the negative. You're having to do payday and cash advances. You don't want to wait for that, right? So you want to get all your financial information together, whether it's unemployment benefits. You want to go through your budget. You want to sit down, cut out things that you don't need. I will say I'm not big on television. Like I'm looking at a screen most of the day, or I'm driving. So my extracurricular activity, I want to be out. I want to be at a basketball game, a football game, a comedy show, a concert, church, of course. So I want to be active. But for those people that have subscriptions to every streaming service that's out there, that might be something that you may say, I need to cut back. I don't want to say cut back on the gym, but maybe you can't have that. You got 24 hours, got some of these gym memberships. Maybe you'll knock it down to one, or work out outside, whatever it is. So you want to get your budget. You want to review your budget because you've had a loss of income. The fourth thing, communicate honestly. Just communicate honestly. And you may have made some financial decisions. I know for me, I told you guys my story last week. I was in the process of purchasing a piece of property. I had signed my loan documents. It was a done deal. My loan was funding for that property. Hours later, I go back to work and I find out myself and 399 people were getting laid off that day. Like I didn't know. There was whispers going around, but you ask the manager, oh no, everything's okay. You have your job. Devastated, right? And so you want to communicate honestly. Can you imagine, like, your loan's about to fund in hours, and I got to call my mortgage broker and real estate broker at the time and say, look, I don't have a job. Y'all can't fund this loan. I ain't gonna be able to make this payment. I don't want no foreclosure. I was like, but I had to communicate honestly, because if I didn't and I allowed that loan to fund, being in the industry I am, it's not when one company lays off, it's usually all the other companies are either laying off or they're not hiring. So I could have easily had a foreclosure, right? Because I wouldn't have been able to keep up with the mortgage, and it was right during the housing crisis. So you got to communicate honestly. It may hurt. But again, nobody knows what you're going through unless you tell them. Now, Request assistance. So if you're renting, there's tons. Go to your city's uh, website. Go to different nonprofit organizations. I talked about that last week. You got, you know, go to nonprofit organizations. You have Calvary Chapel. You have a lot of different organizations that help. 211 is a great resource that you can call for a whole lot of things, for food, for shelter, everything. And then your lender, there's lots of options with them, whether it's a forbearance plan where they suspend some of your mortgage payments temporarily, there's modifications. So you want to make sure you request whatever assistance that you need. Don't feel ashamed. You are not the only one that's walked this road, and you will not be the last. You will not be the last. I promise you. And I believe I've walked that road. Dr. Lisa's walked that road. Why? So we can share the information and get somebody else through, right? Get somebody else through. Somebody help me. Somebody help me. And how dare we overcome, get through, and we look like we had it all together. No, I made some mistakes. I didn't maybe act quickly, but now I'm telling you, act quickly, right? Six, this is huge. Oh my gosh. You're going to want to get every agreement in writing. Get it in writing. I had a client I remember years ago. He had, and it was before he was referred to me, but he was off of work. He was a police officer. He had injured himself, and he called his mortgage company and said, "Oh, I need help." They told him, okay, I think his interest rate, if I recall, was like 9.5% on his mortgage. And so he called to get help, and they had dropped it down to 3.5%. So he's good. He's making now this $1,300 mortgage payment, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So he's good. All of a sudden, his house is getting thrown into foreclosure. He's like got a sale date within 45 days. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I've been making this payment. He finds out about me. I get in there and I realize that his mortgage company, they told him verbally he had nothing in writing. Absolutely nothing in writing. The only thing was they did change his interest rate on his statement, but there was never a formal agreement that he signed saying my interest rate is now 3.5 or 3.25, even though he was making those payments. I was able to come, go in, out of his account, everything. And God did amazing things in that. But I tell you, you cannot take their word. What is not in writing is like it doesn't exist. Yep. You have to get it in writing. So that's what your mortgage. That's when you talk to your lender. You talk to your lender and you tell them, look, I got laid off. This is all I'm getting. I have every intention to stay here. I realize this is a business. And you talk from your heart. Because you don't know, even those people on the other side, it's going to cost them a lot to, get you out and redo the place so they can rent it to somebody else. And depending on the state of the economy, they're like, oh, I don't even know if I want to go through that because I could go from bad to worse, right? You could think I'm getting this person out just because they fell on hard times or they're, don't have any money, especially during COVID, right? But some of the people, they're like, you know what? I'm just going to hang in there, apply for this assistance. I'm willing to take third-party payments if you're able to qualify and get the help. So make sure you get everything in writing. If it's not in writing, it's as if it didn't happen. So you want to do that. And again, that is number 7, know your rights. Just know your rights. And if you don't, call me. Consult an attorney. Know your rights. Know when you can be evicted, how many days, what notices they have to provide for you. The one thing about the internet, of course, we can't believe everything that we see on the internet, but we are in the information age. It's almost it's kind of hard not to know something. You may not understand everything, but at least you can contact the right professionals to say, if you're reading something, I'm not sure, make sure it's legitimate government websites, .gov. Like, look at certain things like that, or get referrals, or contact someone that's in that space that you trust, or someone else highly recommends them. So make sure you know your rights. You don't want nobody putting you out on the street and you're like, okay, you didn't give me this notice, you didn't give me that notice. No. So know your rights. Number 8, keep the communication open. So you acted quickly, right? The first thing you did, you let people know. But as time goes on, 3 months, 6 months, if something is changed and you're able to make, maybe $75 more a month, let them know. People appreciate you being honest. Listen, let me tell you this. If you have think about when you are needing assistance, right? You need your landlord to have mercy on you, okay? You need them to be patient with you. And then being patient, you owe them $1,500 a month. Oh my gosh, that's a joke for rent. But anyway, let's live in a fantasy land, okay? Let's live in a fantasy land.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you some good news today. You can get some rent for $1,500 in California. So imagine you need patience. You need them to be patient with you. You need them to have mercy on you and be kind. So they're really due this $1,500. But you don't have it. But they're not pressuring you. They understand you're not the only one that has gotten laid off, and so you want to keep them abreast. Have you ever loaned somebody money? Have you ever? Have you ever loaned them money? The one thing that I don't care to do is chase somebody down for something I loaned them. Like, you didn't have to chase me down to borrow it, right?
Right.
I didn't have to chase you down to borrow it. I shouldn't have to chase you down to be paid back, right? And so think of it that way. They shouldn't have to be calling you. You should should beat them to the punch. You know what? It's been 60 days. Let me give them an update. Email them, put it in writing. Look, I'm just calling you, letting you know this is what I'm doing. And the thing is, because you are at their mercy, it is okay in your transparency. Look, I applied for X jobs. You know what? I signed up for Dr. Lisa's career coaching. This is what I'm doing. She has me working on my LinkedIn. She has me working on, we're doing mock interviews. I'm giving her all her jobs.
Yeah.
But it's okay to let your landlord know these are the things I'm doing, because they don't know what they don't know. And so you're going to keep the communication open. Don't just be like, well, I told them I was laid off 9 months ago. They should know I'm still. No, you want to keep them abreast every step of the way. If something changes, whether it's negatively or positively, let them know. They shouldn't have to chase you down asking you what's going on, because you need them. They don't necessarily need you in the headache. Again, talking about assistance, check local and federal assistance programs. They're out there. If you don't know where to start, feel free. I'll put my number in the chat. You can call me for mortgage relief. There's a lot of people that help you with rental assistance, and you got to fill out the paperwork. Now, you can't want assistance and you don't want to do your part, because a lot of people don't like the paperwork, but it's worth it, right? And then last but not least, don't go at it alone. We come on here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. because you don't have to walk this road alone. Lysa and myself, we are here to help you. So, get the career coaching going. If you need help with rental assistance, you need help with your mortgage, give me a call. And just know you don't have to do it alone. You don't. There's too many people that are trying to do it alone and they're going nowhere, right? But you can go far with somebody that is shaving off the learning curve, because they're like, wait a minute, oh, you did, oh, no, don't do that. we've already made some mistakes before, right? We can help you not make those mistakes. I like to say, you're not going to live long enough to make all the mistakes. Please learn from mine. Please learn from my clients, because I got tons of stories, okay? And I could tell you why we don't do this, why we should do this, and all of that. And so those are the 10 things. 10 things that you need to do immediately if you are laid off, whether you're renting or you are a homeowner, that you should do if you're laid off. And so we're going to open it up for a few questions. If you don't want to ask your question publicly, we're going to put our information in the chat. Wherever you see us, you can send us a private message. Dr. Lysa, she's on Facebook. Feel free. I don't think she's going to mind you shooting her over a DM. And if you have a specific question, because I know some of this is personal, right? Again, we don't wear a t-shirt and hat that says, "Oh my gosh, I'm laid off. I got 5 cents in the bank." We don't do that. But don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed to ask for help.
Thank you for saying that too, Lacy, because I think so many times I've talked to people that are so ashamed of being laid off, or so ashamed. They have these I coach high level executives, attorneys, just different people who've been laid off, and they have this thing of like, my family doesn't even know, or and it's so, for me, I feel bad because I'm not going to tell anyone either, but I think it's the shame of it all that people have to get rid of, or come out of, and
Mm-hmm.
realize that we are all going through something to get, and we don't have to do it alone. So thank you for saying that. It just kind of helps, really just, it puts a stamp on the fact that there are so many people who really are going through it by themselves. And so you don't have to. So yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh,
Got a question? Ooh,
yes. So the
question.
question is, what is the best advice if you've lost your health insurance because you lost your job?
Ooh, we kind of talked through that last week a little bit.
Mhm.
Really, when you lose your job, I'll say this: a good organization will actually offer you some health insurance after you have lost your job, up until a certain day. And then what you do is immediately, like Lacey said earlier, don't wait. Go ahead and apply for Medi-Cal, apply for Covered California. Oftentimes, if you apply for Medi-Cal before you apply for unemployment, let me repeat that. Before you apply for unemployment,
Oh my gosh, look, she's
apply
giving you like
now.
good
This
information.
is a blueprint, and before, because what'll happen is, once you have applied for unemployment, you now have income. And a lot of
Mm.
times, the Medi-Cal, the amount of money that you're able to make on Medi-Cal supersedes, if you have a certain amount of unemployment that you're getting. They're going to say you make too much money, and you're like, wait, what? I don't make but this on unemployment. And so I would say to you, prior to applying for unemployment, apply for Medi-Cal, because at that time you have no income.
Mhm.
And I won't even say technically, you really don't. You don't have a job, and you don't have unemployment. So you have to be able to use it. And here we are again with the shame. Don't be ashamed to be on that. It is something that you have paid into as a worker. You've paid into it. So you don't have to stay on it, but it is there
Mhm.
for assistance. And then there's also Cobra. There's Cobra. Cobra can be a little expensive, and there's Covered California, depending on the type of benefits. I was just helping someone through this. Depending on the type of benefits that you apply for through Covered California, that can also be a little expensive. There's different plans, and there's different tiers that they have that they can offer you. But I would just say to you, before you apply for unemployment, apply for Medi-Cal. When you get that new job, Medi-Cal can go away, and you can have new benefits, or you can keep Medi-Cal. So that's what I would recommend.
Awesome. That was a great question. Let's
Definitely.
see if we have any others. Um, So if we have any others, we don't. But what I really, really love about um, recording information and going live for the people that can't join us on live, please, if you have questions, again, you can reach out to us privately, or you can put them in the chat, because we look at them. We care. We really do care. We'll look at them, and we'll respond, and we will definitely respond to you. Oh, we have another question. Do you know of any free counseling that you may receive if you are experiencing increased difficulty in your personal relationship due to loss of employment? Wow.
Mm,
Stress is real.
Lord.
I do know a couple of great counselors. If someone has that, stress is definitely real. I think I touched on this. What they say, no finance, no romance. It's really hard. I can only imagine getting into that space and you wondering, okay, this light bill is due, this mortgage, this rent is due, and pointing fingers, and you know what? If you wouldn't have bought all these purses,
Yeah, right. Right,
whatever,
right.
pointing the fingers, or you know what, you was late a couple times. That's probably why they got rid of you. Whatever. So yes, definitely reach out to us. And if someone needs actually counseling as a relation for their relationship, because that's the last thing. Your job is gone. You don't need your relationship to fall apart. And it's really, what I like to say, um, we can't find ourselves giving people more grace and mercy to other people than the people that we live with, right? I always say, have you heard people, like, maybe it's contentious at their job, right? They don't like you. Dr. Lisa says you may not always like who you're working for or working with, right? But we have a way that we're able to bridle our tongue, be a little, we don't pop off. Hopefully some of us don't pop off, go to 0 to 100. You know why? Because we say, this is valuable to me, this
Right.
job is valuable, I need it to survive. Okay, this is the way the Lord is providing an income for me. So you don't go from 0 to 100. Most of the time, you think before you say something. Why don't we have that same for our loved ones and the people that we live with? It's because perhaps we don't see them as valuable as they really, really are. They come so common to them us. Oh, it's just my mother-in-law. It's just my mama. It's just my dad. It's just my husband. It's just my kids. And here you are. They're getting the worst of you while you're giving the world the best of you.
Yep,
Did you hear what I said?
yep.
You're giving them the worst of you, and the world is getting the best of you. And it shouldn't be that way. So, again, we know it's hard, and you feel like, okay, I can let my hair down. They didn't see me with the rollers in my hair and all of that. But we have to be careful that
Yeah.
we don't take that stress out on the very people that we love so much, right? We want to give the same grace, the same mercy, the same patience that we show our supervisor, because we don't go to 0 to 100 prayerfully. You want to give that to your spouse, your significant other, your children, your family, because they really do prayerfully love you, and I know you love them too. And it's difficult, but yes, I do know a couple of relationship counselors that are amazing. And I don't know if you belong to a church, prayerfully they have that as well, whether it's your pastor, or your first lady, or other ministers there at the church. You may want to seek out to them, and maybe your church is a good resource to even help you having financial situations. Prayerfully, if you've been giving and faithful and serving, that they have something to aid their member in that. That's a great question.
Even outside of your own church, there's other churches that have ministries where they do offer free counseling and free just free advice, free group settings as well that you can go to, because stress is a real thing, and when people lose their job, it really does wear on your relationship. It wears on your levels of stress. It's just like certain things really just that don't normally bother you, and the core of the issue is I just lost my job. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I definitely thank you for that question, and look for some free therapy, and even outside of church, you can Google free therapists in my community, and there are some therapists out there that will offer some work for free, and so there's options out there.
Yes, free counseling for children. Yes, I know, and well, depending on the age of the child, I know they have counseling in grade school, but even in college, I remember my daughter, when I toured the college campus with her and everything, they said that they have free counseling for children. So that's amazing. And if they're smaller, you may have to adjust the type of food, right, that you're buying. You need to buy, beans and rice, and, maybe they don't have the free lunch. And kids are bullies, right? Let's just face it. They're looking at how other kids are dressed, and they don't have the Jordans, and they don't have this, like, the real secret. I ain't never owned a pair of Jordans. I'm not even
Me
a
neither.
tennis.
I haven't either. I've wanted
I'm
some, but
not,
I
I'm
can
not
spend a
a,
little
I'm not
money on something else. I don't want to spend.
I'm like, I've
Yeah,
never had Jordans before in my life. But I'm not a tennis shoe. What they say, tennis shoe head or whatever,
yeah,
a sneaker
yeah,
head or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not
See, I
one
don't
of
even know the
those
right
shoes.
terminology.
I can't even say that.
Never owned a
But
pair of Air
but
Force One.
kids, yeah, 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 yeah. So kids can be cruel. You don't have the latest whatever is in. Kids need to know that they need to know their worth, right? That I'm not what I put on. This is what I got, but I'm from a loving home. My mom and dad, or whoever's raising them, is doing the best they can with what they have. And they just need to know that. But yes, free counseling at school, I know at least it was available for my child, both actually in secondary school and elementary, and then definitely at the college level. So yes, counseling for everybody. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Get the help that you need. Like, you crazy. Well, you crazy to look in the mirror, see a booger in your nose, and walk away. Who does that? Like, you just clean it, right? And so you a mess. You short tempered. Things is not the way they were. Get whatever help you need. Don't be ashamed. Because again, you're not the only one, but you will be the only one if you don't get help. Because we helping people out here. We are helping people out here, and we want you to be one of the many successful cases. And
Yeah,
then you can go back and pull somebody else up. You can go back and pull somebody else up.
this is what we do for sure.
Yes. So I think we're nearing to the end if we don't have any other questions. But if we do, please, if you're watching the replay, put them in the comment section. Send us a private message. We're here for you. Lisa, you put your information in.
Oh, let me put my information in right now.
Yeah, we want to make sure. Yeah, I like that one about children, because we can't leave them out. They're a part of the household.
Right,
They are part of the household.
they are. They definitely are. They're just little people, and they're
Yeah.
times as well. So yeah, we definitely have to remember them. So this was great. This was really great, and I hope
Yes.
somebody.
This was awesome. Let me see.
Did it
You
go in?
put it in there? I didn't
Oh,
see it.
hang on. Let me. Oh, you know what? I put it. Hold on. Let me put it in the comments. 1 second. Um,
I want to make sure that people can reach you and get out to you. And while she's doing that, if you are listening to this, she's all things about getting you together, um, in your career, in your side hustle, the interviewing, the resume. If there is a topic or you got a question and it's a topic that you want us to talk about, put that in the chat too. Okay, that'll give, because we want to create value, but we want to talk about things that are relevant to you. Um, just on in a generic sense here, and then when you want further information and want to hire one or the both of us, depending on what your need is, then you can have that too. But make sure you let us know what you want to talk about, and again, whether you put it publicly or privately, it doesn't matter to us, because I know some people are still shameful, but by the time we finish doing all this, you're not going to be shameful, because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's 700,000 people already this year in the U.S. and lost their jobs. Okay, I'm number 399.
That is so true. When you think about it like that, you think about it holistically like that, it really makes it feel like I really am not alone. There's all these people. You don't ever,
All
yeah,
these people.
yeah,
Yes, I mean, I put out a list, and speaking of Planned Parenthood was on the list this week.
yeah, yeah.
Several locations. Yep, they were on my list. Several locations. I think September 30th or September 20th, September 15th. I can't remember the date. But anyways, so I pray that you guys enjoyed this live. We'll be back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Woo-hoo.
And we look forward to working with you and for you. And until then, I want you to have a blessed day. Bye bye.
Bye.